What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Peter, aka Forex Funded, coming at you with another weekly analysis video for this upcoming week of June 4th to June 9th, 2023. As always, check the description for all of our links, our Instagram, our free Telegram, our mentorship, all those good kind of things. But yeah, let's just get straight into it and see what we have on the charts. As always, if you guys were in the free Telegram room or a member of the best Forex trading community there is, the Forex Fund family, you guys know that we took amazing sells on Friday, just before NFP, and we hit our full take profit. Right, initially we were just targeting this prior support resistance as our first main target, and then we was really just looking at 44 and then 33. Didn't get that full extension, but it's all right. We still made a good, I'd call it $30 move, maybe. um $30, yeah, about $30. And then if you guys are a member of our mentorship, you guys know that down here I sent out a medium risk re-entry based off this break of the prior daily low. You had two retests, and then we had got into it. Yeah, and also, if you are a member of the family, you know that when we pushed down and then just came right back up with the timing of the day, being close to 3 p.m. on a Friday, I said, you know what, guys, I'm going to bail. We didn't get the movement I wanted. And then obviously we came back down for more profit to close the day. But, I was out of that early. So it is what it is. So let's just see what we can get rid of real quick. We can get rid of this fib. We can get rid of this weekly. We can get rid of this no wick and get rid of this. We'll leave that. We'll put that trend line back in a minute because I want to first talk about this monthly, see how that monthly candle closed. So we have had two main rejections on this monthly, right? We had April and May, which just closed this past week, from that key level, right? Not really key level, but from those all-time highs. And on some chart providers, it did not make a new all-time high. Some of them it did. On this specific one, we did make a new all-time high by almost nothing. But you can see that here. So that is a good indication that it's time to go down further, and what was kind of having us in the a main reason to continue to sell and to sell from that point. You guys know we first started selling at night at 2060. So if we just take a look at past price action, we can see that the first time we fell down, we tested here in that same month. Next month we came down to here, right? So mark that area up real quick. And you can just see, based on all this price action, which goes back, 3 years, almost 3 years, right? That is a good area of support resistance, that 1850 key level. You can see we have wicks in it or straight bodies below it. Straight above, straight below, wick, straight above, straight below, retest of it, straight below, and then so that is on a monthly time frame. I'm expecting this next month of June to continue us down towards that 1850 key level. We will get into it here on a lower time frame to see, to relate that to what we want, right? So last week, what we saw is we saw an opening price of that 1941, and we had a high of 1983. So all we did was retest the prior weekly high, and then we had that big bearish movement to close us nice and rejecting, in my point of view. To me, that is a rejecting candle, because of the direction that the wick is in, right? You can compare that to a lot of other times. But for me, the opposite would be something like this, where you have the wick coming from below and then a blue close, right? You can relate this current candle close to something like these two candles right here, this one and this one over here. I know that's really not the best example considering you did continue higher, but here's another example of it. You came down. Um, yeah, here's a regular pin bar. So that's what I'm getting um, from the weekly candle close. Something to take note of on this weekly as well is we do have this gap right here that starts at we'll call it 1867, and it ends at that weekly level that we have 1871. So that would be a very nice weekly target for us for this upcoming week. From the current close price, that is a pretty steep ask, $76 that we need to travel down. But to be fair, in the week that pushed us from that same level, it had no problem doing 121, right? And you can see that the last time we were in this same kind of area, the same relative area, once you started that downward movement, you ended up coming well below the area that we're expecting. You had a $180 move that took you about a month. So that kind of price action is what I would love to see continue, for us to continue down for that month, for this month that I was mentioning on the monthly time frame, something that's just like this. We can see this is a daily trend line. You can make it a weekly and see you bounced off of it too. So that is another thing that I'm going to be keeping my eyes out for, is I want to see us this coming week get a nice firm bearish close below this trend line. Something where we have new lows and then we have a close below it, leaving you open for a retest and a resumption in case you happen to miss that move to the downside, right? But that is something we definitely want to be keeping our eyes out for. So yeah, over here we know why we bounced off of this 1930-ish area. All right, we had one of our daily levels right here, which is what we've been bouncing off of. Now the next daily level that I see is right about here. That would be our 1920, and then below that we have 1903. So our 1900 key level. Let me get rid of this prior weekly high because the new prior weekly high would be right here. The prior weekly low. I forgot to do this when we was on the weekly chart. Would be right there. We have that prior daily high that we don't care about because we already, traded off of that break and then no respect. Let's look at a short-term fib and see which of those levels match up with something. So we have 6-1 right in the middle of both. So that's another good confirmation that we should be heading down back below our 1950 key level, which is where we close below our 1950. And if you look at where we have that bottom support right here, you can see that it is exactly that 1950 key level. We implement that $10 rule. And it's pretty bang on. If you look at the bodies right here, you have 1956. If you look at the bodies right here, we have 1946. There's your $10 range. So that's just something that we teach here at the FF family, that if you haven't heard us say, you should get familiar, because those key levels don't lie. So that is the main thing I'm going to be looking for this week, right? Is a continuation down to break the prior weekly low. Whether you bounce off of that 20 or not, right? You'll be looking for that retest wherever you bounce off, is what I'm trying to say. Doesn't have to be 20. You could break it by $5 and then continue up, but you'd be looking for a retest at some point to continue you down towards that 1900 key level, where if you get a big bounce, if you don't just break through it, you can expect a further pullback to kind of help you with, all right, do we need to pull back further, or are we going to continue down towards that 1870? And what I mean by do we need to pull back further is, say that you had this as your high and you came down here, right? You would be looking for a retest of that 1940 level. And based off of a rough price estimate, right, if it did bounce straight off of there, you'd have 38% right at that 45 as well, right? And then you come down to 1900, right? You could have a quick 2-3 or a quick 38, But at the same time, price action will help you determine whether you really want like a 61 or a 38 or what you want, right? So those are some of the things that you have to be evolving with and trading with on the fly. But for the most part, that is what I'm going to be looking for this coming week, right? We can add a trend line in right here. I'm not the biggest fan of trend lines because I'm kind of particular on how I trade them. For instance, I know that I was mentioning this daily trend line, daily and weekly. This is how it looked. If I traded trend line touches, I would have had more of a reason to buy this, right? I'm not the biggest fan of the trend line touches because I'm just not. I'm more of a fan of having a trend line that has been holding up, right? You have a one, a two, a three, and then on that break of that trend line with the body below, you can expect further momentum to the downside, followed by that retest and resumption. Those are my what I like to use trend lines for. But based off of the daily, that did give you a very good level to buy. Um, I just personally didn't catch a lot of that move, if any. Um, so we do have a daily level that we can mark up right here, a daily sell level we can mark up right there. And, we do see we have that daily here. So that's the first area we could come in and look for possible rejection for what I would be considering a pullback, right? So if we ended up bouncing off of that daily level, I would just be expecting it to be a pullback, whether it's to the moving averages, which are now crossing, right? And then further, whatever it may be, that's one area we might want to look out for, or whether it is that daily level, that daily sell level and trend line, right? It's very much anyone's game. But as you did see, these moving averages crossed on Tuesday, and then all we had was bullish price until we had that news, right? You can see that you crossed right here, and then you just respected them, giving out honestly a lot of buy opportunities. For instance, when I say those buy levels and sell levels that we mark, here would have been a 4, which never got cleared, right? But you pushed up, you pushed down, you made a new high from this push. So you have one right here, which you came back and respected amazingly, right? Made a new high. You would have been able to put one right here. Came back, rejection, right? With this 6 o'clock candle, which means 8 o'clock New York Open is in there. You had another one. So you would have had, we'll call that 2 buying opportunities based off of that, using those moving average crossover confluences and whatever else we want to say. But yeah, guys, that I don't want to make it more difficult than it has to be, because that is really what I'm looking for. Depending on if we get, a rejection from this level or this lower small support resistance, right? We could possibly pull up a fib and help us to determine which pullback we're going to get. But in terms of just plain price action and what I'm expecting to have happen, it is something along these lines. So that would be basically 2 rough sell levels. One, they both have to be refined, or we just don't care and you wait for the break, the retest, the resumption, right? So hopefully that makes good sense to you guys. And I will send these charts out to the family and to the free Telegram right now. So as I mentioned, even if you don't want to pay for our mentorship, because maybe you just don't have the funds right now, at least join our free, because at a minimum, the free will get this analysis and they'll get this YouTube link, right? They might not get much after that. They might not get any entries or any lives next week. Who knows? But definitely 2 really good sources of information. So here on US 30, really just to recap the Friday trade that we had, which was also sent in the free room. I sent the analysis of what NFP should do to trades. I said if we have a higher than expected NFP, you would get bullish on US 30 and other stocks, and you would get bearish on gold. This is the 8 o'clock candle, which means you have your 8:30 news right here, which had that downward push and then the close higher. So anywhere in there you could have bought. When I initially sent to the family about buying, it was somewhere in this hour right here, right around 6. I said, look, we're continuing higher. So if you want, we can try and buy it with the stop below where we had broken out from. And so what I mean by that is, oops, you broke out from here. Oh my, it's still a circle. You broke out of here, right, with this candle. So you could have your stop below it. So truthfully, it should have been pulled down a little bit further, right? Stop below where you broke out from. Because if you do break lower than that, you're more likely to come down further, right? And then we had a couple levels that we were targeting, right? We had the prior weekly high. We had the prior lower high, which we just busted straight through. And then finally, we had, if you look on the daily chart, you can see we have three rejections from this level: one, two, and then three. So I even messaged to the fam. I said, look, it's very possible that we could get a strong rejection off of this level for anywhere from 50 to 150 pips, but we didn't get that to see that movement. So I didn't take any trade there. So let me see what it is exactly we can be expecting for this week to come. Prior weekly high will be moved here. So just a rough estimate, right? I don't like to be too thorough on these index analysis for the week because it can change so fast. But it does seem like we're going to end up pushing higher and trying to target this high right here, right? I think we're going to probably target that, especially with the fact that we had Biden now sign in the bill to raise the debt ceiling, which should keep gold lower and should continue to push stocks higher. Before that area, we see we do have this weekly sell level up here at 34,000, which is a key level, right? Every round 1,000 and every 500 for me is key levels. You could have minor key levels like 250 and 750. So that would be a good weekly target, right? Right now, it's only about 200 points away. But in my opinion, we would end up having some kind of a pullback, right? So whether that is a full pullback down towards 33.3 level where you broke from, right? You broke from here. So whether you get a pullback towards this level for a retest, or maybe you get one from that prior lower high that we were mentioning, right? So that's why I had that marked up. It was on, I think it was on 4 hour that I had it tighter. Yeah, I had it a lot tighter on 4 hour. Any of those levels would be good. Still going back to daily real quick. So in terms of fib, no kind of fib up there, but we have 50% down here. That's something to be looking out for. This 4 hour level that we have marked up is right around 61. But truthfully, if we come down past this area, this 33.3 level, 33.2 level, I would kind of want to reevaluate the situation, right? Because if we come crashing down hard below these 8 and 20 EMA, we need to reevaluate and make sure we still feel bullish. Once again, we had a weekly trend line that we had to bounce off of, right? We had 1.2 point and we bounced twice now, right, on the daily. So that would have been times when I mentioned that, maybe I need to start trading those trend line bounces more often. What I traded was I had that buy level marked on a daily. We came back, rejected, came back again. So that's where you would have been able to get in. Let me see. Did I miss anything over here on this daily? No. So basically, what I am trying to say is, first of all, we want to see what is going to happen with these prior rejections, right? Are we going to get a push to the downside, right? Are we going to see a push to the downside, whether it's to this level, and a rejection to the upside, or is it going to come further down towards 38 or even that most recent break that we have, right? If we come towards that most recent break, I will be expecting more probability for that buy towards the lower high that we were mentioning, right? And if we don't get that, if we do just continue higher, right, what I would be looking for is the continuation, the retest, and the entry towards this level right here, this 34,000, which can easily be extended up higher. We would be watching this high right here. If we're able to break it, we would be looking for that retest and then that continuation towards around 34.5, as I mentioned, another key level. And once again, another lower high over here, right? And then you can keep going and say if you break that, right, you would end up coming towards this high over here, which is at the low end of that 35,000 key level, right? So I know that was a lot of movement in a short time, but for the most part, that really is what I'm looking for in terms of a daily point of view, right? On the bigger picture of what I'm looking for. Right, we can go down to 4 hour and see what exactly it is we see. So yeah, as I said, we would have this fib here. We'd be looking for a possible fib retracement. um Mostly though, I'd be really looking for that support resistance, right, where we had resistance. So let's see if we can make that support, either of those. And ultimately, let's see what happens on Monday, right? Because I personally like to wait for a little bit of that price action with New York session on Mondays to see, excuse me, to see if there's any indications for directions for the week to come. So yeah, taking a look at Nas. So we had a area of demand that we had marked up, a 4 hour area of demand. We came back to it, and somewhere in that hour, oh yeah, it was in this candle. It was in one of these two wicks. We had I don't know exactly where. Somewhere in here is where we had bought and we had used a stop below that area of demand. And we was targeting a lot higher, right? I know it seems, oh my God, you were targeting 360 pips. Okay, right. So what? Right? It could have happened. We didn't get that. We got about a 60 pip push, 60 to 80 pip push, which was where we had taken partial 60 to 80 pip push, where we took our partial profits. So once again, another really good trade there. So let's just see what it is we can clear out of this chart so we can get rid of this prior weekly high that is no longer there. We can get rid of this fib for now. I think we're gonna still be pushing towards that same level we was targeting on Friday, that 14,850 area, which is that weekly sell level. I'm trying to figure out what this fucking, oh, this is the minor area of support resistance that we have when we pushed down. We retested this level right here. That's why I have that marked up right there. So in terms of weekly, me personally, you guys should know me by now. I like to mark up the prior weekly opens. I like to just trade that off of, is if you come back and retest it, you should really be looking for buys unless you had reason to be thinking of sells, which I don't. We have the daily marked up. We have that 4 hour marked up. This price action is pretty messy, not the best tradable, right? You have like straight range or just straight impulse, which makes it harder for analysis, right? It doesn't necessarily make it harder to trade. It's really just with the analysis part of it and trying to like think ahead. But what I will say is, I am curious now. We had these lows, we had this high. So it was a 38 too. I wasn't really looking at that, but it was 38 pullback. We have a 4 hour area that we can add right here. That's an area we could be looking for possible buys. But for me, this is even worse than US 30 right now in terms of I really, really need to see on this some price action. And for me, the easiest way, so this is, one of that area of resistance we formed, and we just hugged onto it. Just to talk about that while we saw it. What I would be really looking for, one of two things, is a push to that 4 hour level, followed by a pretty immediate rejection, right? And if we were to break too far below that, I would be looking for that weekly level. And then if that isn't it either, right, you would see just straight impulse or slowness down, sort of like what you have over here. Then we'd be looking for that 4 hour area, 4 hour and daily. But I personally don't think we're going to need to come that low. I think we're either going to see that 4 hour, those prior Friday lows tested, and then we get a nice buy, or we just dust them and we do come back a lot lower towards here. But as always, we will be looking for that possible break, that retest, and that resumption towards our 14,860 level. So, yeah, as I mentioned, it will be a lot easier for us, especially on this NAS, um, to see some price action and to see what exactly the market is showing us come New York Open, right? Just looking at the price action of it, we have on hour, we have what, 7 hours of rejection. So we should either bust the top on open, or we should really pull back. And then it's really a matter of trying to determine which area we're going to pull back to using a shorter term fib. I guess this still would be medium term fib based on this 1 hour. We can see we could come back to that 38, and that 61 and 50 is right in between that weekly level, giving us more confirmation of that area, dual confirmation there for now. And our 786 is at that 4 hour level. So we got at a minimum dual confirmations on every single one of our potential buy levels. And once again, we can see the moving average. We crossed the short, which is the yellow, the 8 below our 20, and we stayed bearish and we hugged it, right? So all those retests of it, you could use as selling. We crossed above it, telling you you're bullish, big bullish impulse. You retest, rejection. You could have started buying anywhere in there. Same thing, came back down. NFP ended up pushing price down a little. That way, come that 9:30 time, the big traders were able to get in on their nice 100 pip move. So I hope this information was helpful for you guys. I hope that you guys had a wonderful last week of trading. I know us at the FF Fam did. And we really hope to see a lot of you guys, a lot of your faces in our free Telegram room, on our Instagram, or even as one of our newest members of our Forex Funded family mentorship. Until then, I will see you guys, and maybe we'll be able to have some free live trading next week. I don't know. I haven't really looked at news yet to see what we have coming for us. But if there is an opportunity for me to go live, I always announce it on the free Telegram room first, and that is where I send the links. So in case you're not subscribed, in case you didn't hit that bell notification. But, last time I'll say it, please hit that like button, hit that subscription button, check out our links, and we will see you guys next week. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend.